In the desert oasis where stories ignite, Skip's little bar, a beacon of light. From the Coachella Valley stars to cool everyday Joes, join Patrick and Randy, let the stories flow. At Big Conversations Little Bar, the magic spreads near and far. Backed by the McCallum Theatre's grace, celebrate the voices that shape this place.
From the coveted corner booth in a little bar at the center of the Coachella Valley universe, welcome to another Big Conversation with Patrick Evans and Randy Florence, presented by the McCallum Theatre. Visit McCallumTheatre.org or reach the box office at 760-340-2787. Gentlemen.
Howard, thank you very much. We are back with another edition of Big Conversations Little Bar, taped in front of a live studio audience at Little Bar in Palm Desert. Skip Paige's Little Bar, and we are in the coveted corner booth. Our sponsor, the McCallum Theatre. Please be sure to drop by their website, McCallumTheatre.org. They're always adding shows. It's another incredible season, and they're extending the season, so be sure to never miss a program at the McCallum Theatre. I'm Patrick Evans. I'm your host. I'm here with my good buddy, my co-host, my sidekick. We were high school best friends at different times in different schools. Randy Florence.
I was way behind. The senior year was my best 15 years of my life.
So, Randy, how are you?
I'm good, and I want to congratulate you. So as we record this, just recently, you just received a pretty cool recognition in town from Supervisor Perez.
And it wasn't in town. I had to go to
you had to leave.
I had to go. Yeah.
So tell us about that. That's kind of cool.
All of the County Board of Supervisors select a volunteer of the year for their district, and that was on this particular day we're taping. It was this morning, and so after my morning newscast, I drove to Riverside, and it was the regular County Board of Supervisors meeting. They recognized all of those who were named, and I got to say a few words in front of the
Congratulations.
Board of Supervisors, and I got a really nice plaque. But
did you drive there in the car you won for?
I had a police escort. No, and I want to say thank you to Supervisor Perez. Manny Perez, we've known each other for 20 plus years, and he said really kind and generous things in introducing that award. And it was just, I know he had dozens and dozens of people on that list, and so I was very gratified. And
well, congratulations. It was well deserved.
Very sweet what he said, and to do that. So,
and pretty sweet that I brought it up.
It's really sweet that you brought it up. I already called you sweet in the last podcast.
I don't care. Can't call me sweet enough.
Our producer, John McMullen, is here.
Yay! Am I sweet?
L. If there's sweet in the universe, you're the point farthest from.
Yes. He's the anti-sweet.
He is the anti-sweet. And that voice is the voice of our guest, Mr. John Taylor, who is, you know that voice because you hear him every morning on KGAY radio. He is the morning drive guy and have been for how long? Since the inception.
I have been a rising star in the radio firmament for 44 years.
No, since the inception of KGAY, I've done mornings here in Palm Springs.
And when did that start?
Oh, back in the late 50s. No.
During the Eisenhower
AM radio.
We're going on 7 years. Yeah, and there was a period of time when the radio station was owned by run by a nonprofit board who didn't know their ass from their elbow, let's just face it.
They knew how not to make a profit.
And they fired the team that created the radio station. And I said, hey, I'm not doing this for the money. This is a labor of love, and I got to go. Goodbye. And walked out. Along with Shan Carr and Brad Furr, and we did what gay people do in a crisis. We went immediately to street bar and started day drinking.
And I think that's I think that's an effective way to deal with crises.
But yeah. So
we do it every week here.
And then we created the I Love Gay Palm Springs podcast, and pandemic happened. Brad brilliantly figured a way to buy the radio station, and we got the band back together. And it has been the best experience of my... To have an Act 3 in broadcasting be the best ever is something special.
Well, congratulations to you guys for that. And I need to give a shout out to Brad. Brad Furr is a terrific guy. I also work for him. I'm on our sister station, 103.1 Me TV FM.
Yes, you are
I'm your arch nemesis.
You're my evil media nemesis, Patrick.
I'd hoped we could avoid this ugliness, but let's just talk about it.
Don't make me separate you two.
Thinks he's so fancy up there with his Star Trek.
You know, I'm going to get back to this arch nemesis stuff because we constantly compete for. We're not competing, but we're always in the running for best DJ.
Yeah.
1 year he wins, next year I win.
It's weird because I vote differently alternating years.
Do you?
It was you,
Shame on
Randy.
you.
Oh,
Don't
boy.
you know which side your bread is buttered?
But you know
For
what?
God's sakes, I'm not calling you sweet in any podcast if you're voting for other people.
The truth is, and if anybody asks me, I'll deny it. I absolutely love this guy. He's so great. You're a great broadcaster, and to be mentioned in the same breath as you is whatever.
The feeling is 100% mutual. You're
I
great
know.
at what you do, and you know that radio station. It's the greatest call letters for Palm Springs possible.
What a great coincidence.
No, it wasn't.
Oh,
You know,
wasn't at all.
I'll tell you how it happened.
Yeah, tell us the story. It's a great story.
Brad was, always, Brad worked for Pride Radio. There were various out broadcasts, even the short liberal talk network of radio stations. What was it called? Help me out, John. The one with Rachel Maddow. Air America.
Air America, yes.
Yeah, so he worked for a lot of, progressive kind of, and LGBT, Pride Radio. I used to do work for Brad, and we've known each other 30 years. So he had this dream to create this gay radio station in Palm Springs. And he was literally in the middle of the night scrolling on his phone, and he found out that the call letters, KGAY, had been sort of put on a shelf by a Christian broadcasting group who wasn't real crazy about the idea of the GAY, and he filled out a form on his phone, paid $75, and secured the call letters.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was the exact amount, but it was, it was just like an application fee, and John McCallum is a great broadcaster and knows all the machination behind the scenes on how to make radio happen. I don't know. I just turned the button on, talking to the mic, blah, 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 play some music, blah, blah, blah.
That is not... I've seen your setup, your home studio.
I have a 4,000-pound custom-made soundproof booth.
At home.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I
Let's do a remote.
But I also have another setup outside of the soundproof booth, so I can do it with a guest. So when Brad and I do our little, this is the top 3 things. I have 3 cameras. I have lights. It's crazy.
No, his home studio it's amazing. It would rival lots of TV studios that I've worked in.
And I've learned from TV people on how to, do lighting. And I went to Emerson College, so it was a good school.
Yeah.
And I absorbed some of the basics. You guys are like into stories. All right, so I have to tell you.
We're very into stories.
All right.
It's a story-based podcast.
All right, so picture it. Emerson College, 1983. A fresh-faced young boy from suburban Boston comes... No.
God, I hope it's you.
It was me. So
that's the spoiler.
So I went to Emerson in Boston, and I got in with this incredibly talented group of potheads who... They were the kind of people that if they smoked pot, they got more creative. Oh. I was the kind like, I'm way behind. I better not smoke pot, so I'm not a pothead. But they were David Cross, remember from Arrested Development.
Yes.
Laura Keitlinger, amazing stand-up, consulting producer on Will and Grace. Anthony Clark, the star of 7 seasons of Yes Dear. They were all in my comedy troupe. My comedy teacher was Dennis Leary.
Wow.
Oh my God.
So
One of my all-time favorites.
And
Yeah.
during comedy writing class, we started out with like 25 people. But because Dennis Leary constantly smoked, all of the asthmatics dropped out. We were down to like 9. And
It was a culling method that he used.
but I came from this, it was like Saturday Night Live and all of these incredibly talented people. And so that's where I came up. But then I kind of took that with me to radio.
But let's go back before Emerson.
Okay.
What got you into comedy at Emerson College?
Well, before Emerson,
So you were born
In a small town.
I was born in New London, Connecticut. Dad was a teacher at the Coast Guard Academy. We were not Coast Guard brats. Dad then worked at Harvard. He went to MIT. He was like an amazingly smart guy who kind of had the Asperger's thing going on. A beautiful mind. He solved a problem on a blackboard and got a full 4-year MIT scholarship.
Holy cow.
Yeah, he was like crazy brainy, but he didn't necessarily connect. I'm going to divert for a good story.
Okay.
So about, 10 years ago, my younger brother, who married late in life, his wife was pregnant. And we were having our conference call with me and my 2 brothers and my dad. And I said, Dad, you're going to be a grandpa again. I'm so happy. He goes, yeah, I'm happy too. I said, I don't think I'm going to give you any grandkids. And Dad said, yeah, I've always thought that was a shame. I said, why? So Dad said, I always thought a world with multiples of you would be a better place.
Your father said that.
My father said I love you in an equation.
Wow.
John times X equals better world. And strangely enough, he died suddenly a few months later. And so I have the equation.
That's phenomenal.
And Dad didn't connect on a lot of emotional levels because of that beautiful mind. But I have that. So I was like, I'm good.
And did he realize at some point that you had achieved some of what he was hoping for you to?
I don't think Dad had necessarily. I think he was always a booster and a fan of his own kids, all of them, all 3 of them. But I don't think he necessarily got it. It was like, okay, you just keep doing what you're doing. You know what I mean? It's like you've talked to a lot of people in show business. It's just like parents don't say, hey, yeah, continue on with that thing that doesn't look like it has any future.
Yeah, you seem like you're going to be unemployed a lot.
Yeah. But I haven't been.
But you haven't been.
For 44 years.
So when you got out of Emerson, I mean, like you were in this incredible bubble of great comedic talent.
When I was kicked out of Emerson.
Oh, you were kicked out.
Yeah.
Another story.
Yeah.
So
Dad had some success in his computer career. And then some downtimes, and so the checks didn't clear. So they said, "We're security. You have to leave."
Okay, so you departed Emerson
Amicably.
I did.
Well, they weren't mad at you.
No, and I realized, my welcome is worn out here, and it's time to go. And so my grandmother, and there are a lot of people that are lucky enough to have an amazing grandmother. My grandmother said, but you used to like to do the radio thing in high school. Let's get you a radio job. I said, it's not that easy. So she paid some money. I think it was like $400. My friend Christo Charas, who did all the audio bits for our Emerson shows, we faked a demo tape like I worked at radio stations.
Oh, perfect.
And he made 100 copies and labeled them. And my grandmother drove me around New England, station to station, like Loretta Lynn and Coal Miner's Daughter, wherever there was a tower, and pulled over. And we started in Cape Cod, where Grammy was from, and we ended up in Western Mass, Maine, New Hampshire, and I got a gig full-time right off the bat. I would go in and she would say, did you talk to the manager? And I would say, well, no, he's at lunch. She goes, I'm enjoying my book. Go back in and wait. No, it really happened. And Rochester, New Hampshire is where the first gig happened.
And what was the first show?
The first show was the day that somebody shot Ronald Reagan.
Oof, there was some news that
at least
day.
there was a quiet news day.
Yeah. No, and I didn't know how to run the equipment. I had bamboozled my way in with that really good demo
Right,
tape.
the faux demo tape.
So my job was to flip one switch to ABC News. That was it. And then I learned behind the scenes that day. So I'm sorry about Mr. Reagan's gunshot wounds, but they really helped me.
Well, he recovered, and it worked out for
It worked out for both of us.
It worked out for everybody.
I know the first day. It's April 30th, 1981.
Yep.
Wow. So, all right, and how long did you stay at this small Rochester station?
I moved on up. I moved to Laconia.
Well, the sprawling metropolis.
Or
that
actually,
is-
Wolfboro, the Winnipesaukee Lakes region, and I worked for a guy named Jay Williams, and he owned the radio station. And at the age of 14, I had actually made dumb demo tapes that were bad. They weren't professional, and actually rode my bike hundreds of miles around suburban Boston to deliver them. And I had misrepresented myself as his son, and he's still childless to this day, to the receptionist to deliver my tape. And Jay Williams hired me at age 19.
Did you tell him that story?
Oh, yeah, he knew it.
Oh, he knew
I
it.
had the letter.
Oh.
He wrote me a letter from F105 WVBF in Boston, which is still a station, I think. But, yeah, and I worked for Jay Williams there and in Worcester and, for many, many years.
So how did you end up here on the left coast and in Palm Springs?
Well, I had come to California at the age of 40 in 2005 with no invitation. So I went to Hollywood without invitation. And I called my grandmother, the one who drove around. And I thought that I would tell her, I'm moving to California. I'm going to go after this voiceover career. What do you think? And her answer was, it's about time. Right? Believed in you always.
She knew.
Believed in you always.
She knew the goal before you knew the goal.
Yeah. And we don't necessarily know. Things like that's a big step. Anyway, I took it.
And were you in Florida at the time?
Yeah, I was in Florida.
And how'd you get there?
A bus?
No, I flew. I had a husband.
I-95.
I had a #1 show in Worcester, Mass, and it was great. That town was great to me. The audience. I still have friends from there, listeners and friends. But I met the Cuban, and he was movie star handsome with a porn star body. And
Just like you, Randy. I
Noticed the look.
I felt like
he wooed me and said, can I say the S word?
Absolutely.
He said, this long distance is not working out. You have to shit or get up off of the pot. Either you move to Miami or forget about it. So I threw away my #1 show.
Wow.
And moved to the beach and lived in the condo on the ocean.
No hesitation.
Because,
you heard him.
Body
movie star, good looks, porn star.
face.
But brilliant. A PhD. He was the assistant superintendent of the Miami-Dade Public Schools. He was a brilliant man.
Total package.
Yeah. And I was like,
So to
okay. And so I moved in. I was out of work for 10 days.
Wow, you got snapped up, looks like that.
Yeah, by a very evil company. I won't mention the name, but
You
I'll
can
say...
mention the name.
No, I'll just say the initials, CBS.
Oh, okay.
But I worked for them and in West Palm and it was rough. You're big corporate media. I work for Pop and Pop now.
Right.
There's something to be said for a family business where the family is family you choose and longtime friends. And CBS was rather harrowing.
Well, all of that corporate, these days, the corporate ownership of both radio stations and TV, it's really a tough world. I'm very lucky because I work for the radio group that you work for, and work for Brad, but also the Bradleys who own KESQ. They own a few other TV stations, but it is a family-owned, family-run business, and I'm very lucky to still be in that world, for sure.
But the big corporate thing, it's not a place where you can thrive. You just have to fit a slot and whatever. And I never fit in anywhere.
And big corporations, they're scared of innovation. They're scared of breaking molds. I mean, it's harder to be creative and do what you do in that world. And
in the final analysis, it is their fiduciary responsibility to deliver stockholder value. And that is not our gig here. And the thing is, I've done this with a certain break in the middle, 7 years. I've never had a morning show meeting.
Wow. Isn't that nice?
I've never had a air check meeting. Well, let's examine what you're doing, and I've never had a program director meeting.
Well, because you guys kill it in the ratings.
Well, the thing is, these are my friends, and we've all come up in the business over 30 years together. So there's nothing
new you're going to tell each other.
Right, but also we kind of learned from really great broadcasters the basics. I'm talking Guy Zapoli and people, names that don't mean anything to anybody outside of radio, but we all were steeped in radio best practices that came from people that really knew, and we've all come up in that. So there wasn't any it might be better if you do this. No, we've learned that.
This is a good moment to take a quick break and thank our sponsor, the McCallum Theatre. Time to say hello to the McCallum. Drop by McCallumTheatre.org for the latest tickets and latest shows, and let's hear from them.
Local talented performers ages 10 through 79 compete for a number of awards and perform together in an exuberant grand finale in McCallum Theatre's Open Call. Friday, May 2nd at 7 p.m. and Saturday, May 3rd at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. Vote for your favorite act and help determine the outcome. A show like no other, Open Call is fun for all ages. Tickets are available at McCallumTheatre.org or by phone at 760-340-2787 or at the box office.
Thank you, McCallum Theatre. We're here with John Taylor, the morning show host on KGAY Radio. But you also, we were just about to jump into this, and we whatever happened to the Cuban?
That's my question.
The Cuban, it was not a match made in heaven because it was two strong personalities, and unfortunately, but the last time we saw each other was shortly before his passing, and he passed of HIV. And we saw each other in Hollywood at the Griddle, great restaurant. And he had come to town for some convention. So there was never, I'm the best ex-boyfriend you could ever have. Because I pick good people, maybe not for me. But he ended up with this nice man, David, and unfortunately he passed at, I think, about 56.
Oh my gosh.
And so that was, way too young. Way too young. But anyway. But then I made my way to L.A. without an invitation to do voiceover.
And I think it's a tougher business now.
Yeah.
That it's gotten a lot. I mean, the AI thing is not great for voiceover business. No. But tell me about your experiences there. And in particular, because I love when podcast guests have a connection to Star Trek. And many of them have a 1 or 2 or 3 degree connection. He's a 0 degree connection to Star Trek. You have voiced Star Trek characters on video games.
Yes.
His character wears the uniform.
I'm Lieutenant Kyle. I can't remember his name, damn it. No, I'm Kyle. Oh, yeah, I know. I'm Lieutenant Commander Kyle DeSoto, Starbase 37. There really wasn't any specifications for the voice, but you're supposed to sound like you're good looking.
It's working.
Yeah.
It's working. I love it. So, I mean, that's very cool. And that's
fun.
That's a super niche voice job, the video game stuff.
I've gotten to do video games. I've done 5 cartoon series. I've done looping and ADR on movies, which is hilarious and fun. Because you spend a whole day and you're the last thing in post-production before they edit the movie.
Yeah.
And what else have I done? I teach surgeons how to do transplants and stuff.
Wow.
That's
You've
it.
really branched out.
Well, I cover the waterfront, Randy. I cover the waterfront. And I've done, radio commercials. I was a national voice. Denny's. I did Denny's. I was Toyota, Nissan. But yeah, you
give us some of the taglines. Do you remember?
All right, here we go.
Moon over my hammy.
The 2012 Toyota Camry. It's ready. Are you? Okay.
I got to go get a camera.
I think I just bought one.
You need a time.
I can't stand up right now.
Randy, you need a time machine to go back to 2012. They're way more expensive now. But I'm trying to think. I did something, the Nissan Juke. I did that. Oh, there was a sub-brand of Toyota that was performance cars for the younger generation. Forgot the name of it, but they gave me money. Denny's. I was Denny's voice for 5 years.
Wow.
And that was a good gig. When I first got to Palm Springs, that kept the lights on. But it was like, well, Grandma. Doesn't the family usually come over on Sunday for pancakes? I wonder where they are now. Maybe they're at Denny's, where the pancakes are 50% fluffier and even more vanilla-ier. I had to learn how to say vanilla-ier.
Vanilla-ier is hard. Wow, they put that in copy?
Yes, but it rolled off the tongue. Vanilla-ier. But I played characters. I played people that weren't me. I saw the picture of the character.
And so, and we talk about this in our business. Sorry, Randy.
That's all right.
You're
Banking.
You're an honorary member.
You are. You got a microphone, baby.
But
and a shirt. And a straight shirt.
And voice acting are really two different things.
Well, yeah, voice acting is, you got to have acting chops. You got to be able to.
But that's
what
what you're doing. You're throwing yourself into a character.
But you throw yourself totally into. But also, first off, I'm gay. In case you didn't realize this already.
What?
But the thing is,
I have a radio station for you.
Yes, KGAY. But the thing is, gay people, when we are of a certain age, we grew up being inauthentic. We grew up being something manufactured so that we could avoid bullying and persecution and disapproval. So we concocted an inauthentic self, didn't we? And we learned how to be a chameleon to not get hurt. And so as we move into our older years, I don't have any time for that shit. This is it. If you don't love me, that's okay. But I'm not going to pretend to be something that I'm not. But I enjoyed being the character. It's almost like Daniel Day-Lewis. Give him some prosthetic makeup and give him some costume and he turns into... Like, I made more money off of the real authentic cowboy, which is a low-budget Sam Elliott. Already today, we've played more country music than any station in Denver. So from here on out, we're just showing off. And people in Denver listening to the radio station don't realize it's a faggot from Boston who's afraid of horses. But I love putting on the mask. I love playing the part. I do the best Paul Harvey, and people don't even know who that is.
I love Paul Harvey.
Good day. Paul Harvey.
Good day.
Hello, Americans. You know what the news is. Now you're going to know the rest of the story. This is Paul Harvey, presented by Buick.
Phenomenal.
But I loved, but I was playing its costumes with your voice.
This is why, if people actually, in those little polls where we folk compete, if people knew all the stuff that you did, the shit that you've done over these, they'd never not vote for you. I wouldn't stand a chance.
But they're all in little different silos. Like, I'm huge with preschoolers. I've done a series, The Chica Show with NBC. I did The More You Know I played an octopus in outer space on Astro Blast. The best was Amazon Prime did a series called Tumbleleaf. And Kelly Bixler, who did TV Funhouse with Saturday Night Live.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Kelly is amazing. And she was the first, woman that ran an animation studio, and she did a stop-action animation series called Tumbleleaf. And they shot it in Burbank, stills, because it's stop-action. And they did 5 seasons, and I got to play Gord the Turtle, but I also got to play Gord's grandmother. Gord's grandmother is Granny Coconut.
And Granny Coconut is more of an homage to Maud Frickert. Remember her from Jonathan Winters?
Jonathan Winters, yes.
But to be able to be these things and to be in people's brains is such a...
Did the voice
shift.
come to you as soon as you saw the face or as soon as you understood the character?
If you look at animation, you look at the old, Boris and Natasha. There were a lot of the memes were used were Hollywood stars. I did a series called Astro Blast where I played a 3-eyed outer space octopus handyman. And so I zeroed in on who's the guy you need help from? He's going to be a stand-up guy, and he's really going to help you. And his name was James Gleason. He was an actor back in the day. And he was you remember James Gleason? He was the guy who talked like this. He was always in your corner. He would be the fight promoter back in the 1940s movies. Remember the one with Robert Montgomery? What was it called? Heaven Can Wait? Or Meet Mr. whatever? But I would zero in on these character actors from the old days and realize that they had traction. Because they played the
character.
They played the same character in so many movies. And so James Gleason I could do in my sleep. Remember he was in Night of the Hunter.
Yes.
I can't help. No, I'm sorry, I can't help you. You kids. I'm more of a rummy. You're right. But
More of a rummy.
But the thing is, they were established, and so you could kind of key into their voices. So I didn't invent everything from whole cloth. I steal. I steal, but I steal from the best.
Okay. That's what you have to
Good.
do.
And sometimes give them credit.
Sometimes.
But there's no, you're not playing a character on the morning show.
No.
That's
Me, yeah.
yeah, that's you.
That's weird.
Is it?
Well, because...
you got to feel comfortable now after, almost 7 full years.
Yeah.
Living in your own skin and working with Brad.
Yeah, no, I look at it this way. What are they going to do to you? What are they going to... Bring it. What are you going to do that hasn't already been done? Hollywood already chewed me up and spat me out. What are you going to do, Palm Springs? But no, it's... but also, this has been the best. Because I have never felt so connected to an audience. Oh, my gosh. And I've worked in some big cities. I will walk down the street on a Friday night happy hour in the neighborhood, and I'll lose count at 50 or 60 hugs. Radio, as you know, is a very intimate thing. We're with people in intimate moments. They're showering, shitting, shaving, whatever they're doing. Or driving alone, that's intimate. You're in their space, and I'm privileged to be in the space.
And they've chosen you to be in their space.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's important.
And I can see through the radio what you're doing. And I promise I won't tell.
My hands are up.
But I feel trusted and loved in a way that I didn't think, Somebody said, you want to see what kind of impression you make in radio? Get a bucket of water, stick your fist in the bucket, pull it out, look for the impression.
It looks the same.
But here the impression, because it's an older audience, and we've all been through a lot of the same territory, it is so connected. And I know what they're thinking because I'm thinking it. Yeah. Before, I had to think of what does a woman 25 to 54 think about this? Because that's what we want as a demo.
But I have insider information. The streaming numbers on KGAY are pretty big. It's not just here.
Right.
You guys do big streaming numbers elsewhere, so you're connecting not just with this Palm Springs audience, because you're here and you're kind of one of us, but you're connecting with a much broader audience that feels that vibe.
And all around the world. I mean, when I see Moscow listening, I'm like, hey, listen on earbuds. Don't put it on the speaker.
Don't play it out loud.
Right.
Yeah, or if they're, we don't want the secret police to hear you.
Well, who's listening? There's no gays in Russia.
There are.
Oh, are there?
Everywhere. As much as my straight parents tried to groom me to be straight, it didn't work.
No.
And it doesn't. And no one can
Are
groom.
you saying there's a straight agenda? That's what you're saying? I hear
I'm
that.
saying that I'm for the human agenda, but the thing is, nobody can groom anybody. No one turned anybody gay. No one turned anybody straight.
I don't know. Terry Ray turned Randy gay.
He's working on it, 60%.
Well, Terry Ray is, he is like the gay gene, and he's spreading it.
Gaydar.
I love Terry. Terry is the gayest person I ever. I mean, really. He's like my loafers lighten just being around him.
He was one of our first few guests.
Yeah.
And but Randy was doing his acting class.
Oh, yeah.
And Terry confided me. He said, I think one more session and we got him.
Yeah, I came in wearing all pale blue, and he goes, 60 days. 60 days and we got you.
But, and he's been through the meat grinder and come out happy, well-adjusted, creating the bent.org. Go find it, support them, and thriving in Palm Springs. So, I feel like that's my sister.
So you said something a moment ago. Your parents were trying to groom you straight.
Not really. I mean,
How did that all work with your parents?
I think that we were all free-range kids. It was like, go out and play, come back when the street lights are on. And, they were oblivious to everything. They didn't know. They didn't know that there were predators out there, the ice cream truck guy. No, they didn't know. I think they were just busy in their own little world. We didn't have helicopter parenting like you do now. You helicopter. Come on.
I don't helicopter.
You don't?
My wife does.
She does, but somebody has to. Somebody has to.
I do. I think that's true. No, I'm not a helicopter parent. And I didn't have helicopter parents.
Right.
I grew up in a very similar time frame to you.
Yeah.
And we're the same way. Like, go out there and come back for dinner, and we don't want to hear from you.
Yeah.
Between now and then.
Children should be seen and not heard.
I've never been home
Yeah.
since that first time she told me to leave.
That's your wife?
Tell my mom.
Oh.
Although Kay might be looking for that.
But yeah, no one groomed their kids to be anything. They just wanted to keep them alive until they could be prosecuted as adults. That was basically, my mother's mantra, and well, you're on your own.
So, what do you love most about the gig at KGAY? And I ask this from the standpoint, I did morning radio for a long time, in addition to the TV stuff that I do. And I find it to be like that moment where you walk in, you have your most creative ideas in that space.
I feel like it's the longest continuing education course that a human being could ever have, and I've been on it for 44 years. And so because, like you, I have insatiable curiosity about everything, and you, Randy, I mean, you're a very curious guy, and to be able to satiate that curiosity, to satisfy it, and to want to know more, and to want to know more about other people in our community, and the people that are performers, the people that are politicians, the people that to be able to ask questions and get answers and connect. That's the best thing about it. Does that sound phony baloney?
No, it doesn't sound phony. I think
sound.
that's the joy of the podcast, actually, versus the radio format, is there's an opportunity to get to know people a little bit better.
Some people are jerks, though.
Yeah.
Like, you deal with celebrities. Who was the meanest? Pick somebody dead.
No, I can tell you, I will say Kieran Culkin.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, but that was your fault.
It was, no, I was a contributing factor, but it was not my fault. Yeah, well,
Kieran, not Kiernan.
Well, that was
That
part
might
of the
have been, yeah,
No,
mispronouncing his-
I called him Kieran McCulkin, and that made him mad. But he was already out
Mad,
there.
yeah.
He was already mad. We told him it was live, and we were already live.
Yeah.
And we were on television. He goes, well, then I better get all my shits and fucks out right now. And he said it on live TV.
And so he did.
Which kind of threw me off. And that's
Yeah,
when I said,
yeah.
and this is Kieran McCulkin. And then he was like, for 5 minutes,
So
well, I
you-
was almost right. You were sort of right. You were close.
Did you mispronounce it on purpose?
No, I was just...
I see. I had one where I mispronounced it on purpose. Well, I had the guy. Do you ever wonder why?
Andy Rooney.
Yes.
Yeah.
Andy Rooney was on my show, and predictably, he was a prick. That was his brand.
Predictably.
Yeah.
But he was but he was so grumpy and mean, and is this over yet on the air?
So that wasn't just shtick. That's
He
who
was
he was.
really, yeah. And his daughter, Emily Rooney, was WCVB's news director, and eventually the news director of ABC News nationally, TV. But anyway, he came in to speak at the Chamber of Commerce luncheon. And I had him on my show at WXLO, and he was so mean and so crotchety and so nasty, and I just couldn't stop.
So what did you call him?
Well, when I was the MC of the Chamber of Commerce luncheon, Patrick, and as we know, revenge is a dish best served cold. So when it was time to introduce Andy Rooney, I said, ladies and gentlemen, the Worcester Chamber of Commerce is so pleased to welcome somebody who's been so welcome in our living rooms on television for so many generations. Please welcome Andy Griffith.
Outstanding.
And it was like you could hear like that stage gasp. And then they said, Rooney, Rooney. People were screaming, Rooney, Rooney, correcting me. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I got it wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, Mickey Rooney.
Oh, you did it.
Oh, yeah. I made sure that my passive aggressive.
That was more aggressive than passive. I love it.
Yeah. So, I mean, aside from that, people who have been in the business a long time, famous people, are usually nice because people want to work with them.
Yeah.
That they're actually delightful.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some people that I've been afraid to talk to because they have been edgy, like Sandra Bernhard. Sweetheart.
She's delightful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've interviewed.
But,
she's terrific.
I've
It can come across a little scary.
Yeah, because she's a little edgy and caustic, but she's good heart. Good heart.
Yeah.
Nice people. And I just want to be with nice people, and we're lucky to have a preponderance of nice people in this town, and more creative people per capita than I think we have anywhere in the world.
Anywhere.
It seems like that.
Anywhere. Yeah. Well, I hate to cut this short, but I must. Jonathan, thank you so much.
I didn't get the Jay Leno story in.
Well, what's the Jay
We
Leno
got time
story?
for that.
Okay. So I got really sick in 1995. People thought I had AIDS. I didn't. But I was losing weight, and a friend of mine had moved to L.A., and he became a producer to a company that fixed up famous people with college speaking engagements. I didn't know that my friend Steve, because I was so ill, had called famous people at home to then call me and cheer me up. So I answered the phone one time, and I'm like, hello. He goes, hey, John Taylor, it's Jay Leno. Your friend Steve said you weren't feeling so well, so I figured I'd call you and cheer you up. And I was like, you don't sound anything like Jay Leno. Steve, work on your stupid Jay Leno impression when I'm not feeling so bad. And call me. He goes, why don't you call me back? You got a pen? Yes, Jay. And I wrote down the number 818, Burbank. So I hang up, I call back, woman answers, Tonight Show with Jay Leno. I'm like, well, anyone can have their friend sitting on the couch answering Tonight Show with Jay Leno. And then she puts me on hold, and I hear boom, 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 NBC music. Oh my God, it's Jay. I can't believe it, it's Jay Leno. Oh my God, and he's like, hello. And I'm like, it's really you, Jay Leno, calling me? A nobody. He goes, who is this? I said, it's John Taylor. He said, you don't sound anything like John Taylor. And he hangs up. Then Jay Leno calls me right back and talks to me for an hour.
Wow.
From Andover, Boston guy, went to Emerson, car guy. Haven't been in the same room, haven't talked to him since that day.
No.
But if anybody ever runs into Jay
Well, he
Leno,
comes here.
He does. He comes to McCallum. I've interviewed him, and he's one of those guys who is exactly what you see.
he is.
He's just.
He didn't have to talk to this goofy radio guy for an hour, and from that moment on, when the phone rang, I was like, hello. Thanks to Jay.
Jay.
John Taylor, our guest. You can catch him every morning on KGAY Radio. Please tune in and enjoy his wonderful brand of broadcasting. Thank you so much. We're going to have you back.
This has been a blast.
We have
Thank
lots
you,
more
Jim.
stories I know that you... John McMullen, thank you for being a great producer. Randy, Florence, the best sidekick since Uncle Fester.
I got more hair.
You do, and that's
And you had to see me with a light bulb in my mouth. That's a different story.
That's a whole different story.
Oh, I
I'm
want to
Patrick
see
Evans.
that.
You can subscribe and make sure that you never miss an episode of Big Conversations Little Bar, available at all of your favorite podcast distribution points. So thank you very much for listening. We'll be back next week.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Big Conversations Little Bar. Recorded on location at Skip Paige's Little Bar in Palm Desert, California, and presented by the McCallum Theatre. Online at McCallumTheatre.org. This program is a production of the Mutual Broadcasting System. All episodes are available from BigConversationsLittleBar.com and most major podcast portals.
Meet your neighbors, fascinating and grand. Each conversation, a wave on the sand. Raise your glass and join the ride, where stories and dreams fully collide. At Big Conversations Little Bar, brought to you by McCallum, our guiding star. From movie, stage, and TV's delight, join us for a captivating morning, noon or night. So gather round at Skip's Little Bar, where stories travel from near and far. Big conversations where they unfold, with Patrick and Randy, tales retold.